Greetings, boys and girls. It is now time for math. We're having fun learning math today. Math today is fun. We learn from our success. We learn from everyone. We're having fun learning math today. Math today is fun. We learn from our success. We learn from everyone. We're learning to think. Think today. Thinking today is fun. Thinking helps us solve problems. Solving problems helps everyone. We're learning to think. Think today. Thinking today is fun. Thinking helps us solve problems. Solving problems helps everyone. Can you read our learning target with me? I can add within 1,000 using place value strategies, and I can explain my calculations to others. Let's review our vocabulary. First, base 10 blocks. We can add and subtract using base 10 blocks. And the base 10 blocks are the ones, the tens rods, and the hundred squares. We know that in an addition problem, we call the numbers add-in plus add-in equals sum. And in a subtraction problem, the numbers are called minuend minus subtrahend equals difference. We also know that we can use a number line to add. We can start from the largest number in an addition problem and jump the amount of tens, ones, even hundreds that the other number is showing us to find our final answer. Today, we're going to use expanded form to subtract. Now, when we write numbers in expanded form, that means we stretch out the number like we stretch out a rubber band. Even with adding numbers together, you can use the expanded form to add them. So 362 would turn to 300 plus 60 plus 2. 535 turns into 500 plus 30 plus 5. Then you start in the ones place because the ones are number one. Yeah, just like the cheerleaders say it. 2 plus 5 is 7. 60 plus 30 is 90. 300 plus 500 is 800. And when you add all three of these numbers together, you have 897. You write them back in standard form. Standard form is when a number looks like it normally looks on a sheet of paper at the grocery store. Just a regular number without the place value zeros in it. When we subtract using expanded form, we pull the number out, stretch it out like a rubber band again. So in this example, 475 turns into 400 plus 70 plus 5. Yes, we're subtracting, so the subtraction sign goes here on the outside of the problem. But because we stretched out the number like a rubber band, when we let go of that rubber band, it'll come back together again. That's why these are plus signs here between each expanded form of the number, because that number has to get back together again. So 475 turns into 400 plus 70 plus 5. 253 turns into 200 plus 50 plus 3. Starting with the ones place, we subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. 70 minus 50 is 20. 400 minus 200 is 200. And when we let that rubber band go and let all the numbers bounce back into place, 200 plus 20 plus 2 equals 222. Now let's look at our problems for today. The problem that we're going to solve together is 684 minus 262. Remember, boys and girls, you can have your own pencil and paper and follow along with me so that when it's your turn to solve the next problem, you'll be ready to go. Okay, boys and girls. First, let's identify the place value of each number in our equation. Let's look at 684 first. What place is the 4 in? Yes, the ones place. How about the 8? You've got it. It's in the tens place. And then the 6. What place is that in? Yes, it's in the hundreds place. Now let's look at the number 262. What place is this 2 in? Yes, it's in the ones place. How about this 6? Yes, it is in the tens place. And the last number 2, what place is that in? Yes, it's in the hundreds place. Now, boys and girls, let's think about the number 100. How many zeros do you see? Yes, 2 zeros. The first zero's in the ones place, the second zero's in the tens place, and that keeps the 1 in the hundreds place. So see, zeros are like heroes. They help keep the other numbers in their place when you stretch them out into expanded form. Now, let's think about the number 10. How many zeros do you see? That's right, just 1 0. Ones, tens. That 1 0 needs to be there to keep this 1 in the tens place. So when we stretch out the number 684, how many zeros will be after the 8 to keep it in the tens place? Yes, 1 0. And how many zeros will be after the 6 to keep it in the hundreds place? Yes, 2 zeros. Now let's look at the ones place number. How many zeros does 1 have in it? Yes, it doesn't have any zeros at all. The ones place number is already in place without any zero to zeros. Now I think we're ready to write our equation in expanded form. 684 turns into 600 because it's in the hundreds place, plus 80 because the 8 is in the tens place. We just need 1 0 plus 4. Excellent job. And 262 will turn into what? Can you help me, boys and girls? Yes, 200 plus 60 plus 2. And remember, boys and girls, even though we're subtracting, we're writing plus signs here because when we're finished solving our problem, that rubber band that has been stretched out, the expanded form of these numbers, need to bounce back into standard form. So they have to be added back together at the very end. Now, let's draw our line to separate the equation from our answer. And the sign that shows us that we need to subtract is over here on the left side of the equation. Are you ready? Here we go. Let's start with the ones place numbers because the ones are number 1, just like the cheerleaders say. So 4 minus 2 is what, boys and girls? That's right, it is 2. Now, you can count up for subtraction. That means you could start at the smaller number and count up to 4 to figure that out. You could also draw out with base 10 blocks. 4 minus 2 is 2. So there are many ways to figure out what 4 minus 2 is. Okay, let's bring down the plus sign. Because remember, at the end of this, we're going to have to put all of these numbers back together again to get the standard form answer. Now we're on the tens place numbers. What is 80 minus 60? Well, since we're in the tens, we can count by tens. We can start with 60, counting by tens up to 80. 60, 70, 80. That would be 20. Now, if that was confusing to you, it's okay. You can also draw 8 tens rods, which is still 80. And subtract 6 of those tens rods. And you have 20 tens rods or 2 tens rods left, which is 20. Now let's bring down the plus sign. All right, boys and girls, let's subtract our hundreds. What is 600 minus 200? Remember, when we're in the hundreds, we can count by hundreds. So you can start with 200 and count up to 600 by hundreds. 200, don't let your fingers move. 300, now you can hold up a finger. 400, 500, 600. So we have 400. Again, boys and girls, if that was confusing to you, you can draw 600 squares. And then you can subtract 2 of those hundreds. And as you can see, there are 400 left. Boys and girls, now it's time to put all of these numbers back together again. And what I like to do is draw 3 lines. A ones place line, a tens place line, and a hundreds place line. Boys and girls, how many ones do we have? That's right, just 2. How many tens do we have? Just 2. Remember, we don't need to use the zeros anymore because we're putting the numbers back together again in standard form. So we're going to leave those zeros out of it. How many hundreds do we have? Yes, just 4 hundreds. So boys and girls, our final answer is, can you say that number with me? 422. Now it's time for us to explain what we did. Here we go. My equation was 684 minus 262. First, I wrote the number 684 in expanded form. Then I wrote the number 262 in expanded form. I subtracted my ones place numbers, and they were 4 minus 2. The answer was 2 ones. Then I subtracted my tens place numbers, and they were 8 tens minus 6 tens. The answer was 2 tens. Last, I subtracted my hundreds, and they were 4 600 minus 200. The answer was 400. My final answer was 422. All right, boys and girls. Now it's time for you to solve the second problem on your own using the expanded form strategy. Then explain your answer. Pause your video here, solve the problem, then check back with me to see if you were correct. Have fun! Welcome back, boys and girls. Let's check your answer. First, you had to identify your place values of each number so that you can write them in expanded form. So 473 should have turned into 400 plus 70 plus 3, and 323 should have turned into 300 plus 20 plus 3. We're subtracting, so 3 minus 3 is 0. 70 minus 20, 50. 400 minus 300, 100. When we put all of those numbers from expanded form back into standard form, your answer is 150. Pat yourself on the back if you got that correct. If not, just try it again. Now let's look at your explanation. It should look something like this. My equation was 473 minus 323. First, I wrote the number 473 in expanded form. Then, I wrote the number 323 in expanded form. I subtracted my ones place numbers, and they were 3 minus 3. The answer was 0 ones. Then I subtracted my tens place numbers, and they were 7 tens minus 2 tens. The answer was 5 tens. Last, I subtracted my hundreds, and they were 400 minus 300. The answer was 100. My final answer was 150. Great job, boys and girls. Now let's review what we've learned today. We've learned that another strategy to adding and subtracting is using the expanded form strategy, where you stretch out each number and then add or subtract, starting with the ones, then the tens, then the hundreds. And when you're finished, put everything back together again in standard form, or just make it look like a regular number by taking out the placeholder zeros. Now it's time to have more fun. If you have the Math Workbook Volume 1 at your house, pick 1 or 2 pages from the pages listed below that you can work on today. After that, you can go to Mrs. Hefner's blog and click on Moby Max or maybe Freckle and work online. Remember, the link is on my blog. So is your username and password. Have fun learning. See you next time.